What's up everyone, how are you all? Today we are back with another blazing Naruto story. What if Naruto turned into the final god of destruction? If you enjoy then please like, share and do comments, and also check the description box to original creator of this beautiful creation. It was a bright sunny day on planet Shonen. Although it was anything but peaceful, the capital was bustling with activity for the return of Naruto the god of destruction. The Animians beings blessed with the ability to use their life energy in various ways. Life on Shonen was similar in a lot of ways to the Asian culture of planet Earth. As stated earlier, today was the return of Naruto, who had adopted the planet as his own after his self-imposed exile from Sadala. The king and queen along with everyone watched the battle between Ichigo Kurosaki and Monkey D. Luffy. Only the destroyer god was nowhere to be found. With Naruto had been a prodigy amongst his people the Saiyans, only unlike them he wasn't bloodthirsty and willing to kill everything in sight. He had tried to show everyone the potential that their race had, but it proved to be a lost cause as they turned on him and tried to kill him, leading him to leave his planet and happen upon Whis, an angel looking for an apprentice, to take the job of a frost demon, which led to Naruto being given the title God of Destruction. Naruto stood at 5 feet 9, and wore a red t-shirt, with a black vest, black baggy pants, and red boots. Around his neck was a black cord attached to a green crystal, around his biceps were a red strap, with matching wristbands. He had shoulder-length wild spiky black hair with jaw-length crimson-red bangs framing both sides of his face, along with 3 whisker marks on each cheek. In a blink they along with Whis appeared standing across the two beings, Mother Vados, Margarita, Whis greeted their mother, who smirked. "Hello my children," Mother said. "Naruto, I'd like for you to meet the god of everything." Grand Zeno's father, Grand Omni. "Sir." Naruto nodded, not bowing, causing the god to smirk and laugh loudly. "Not bowing even though you stand before a true god. I like you boy," the god of everything said. "What can I do for you?" Naruto asked, finding it odd a being such as this would be here instead of with his dim-witted son. "I've decided to do something new," Grand Omni said. "New?" Naruto asked. "Yes. I gave my son these 18 universes to keep him from annoying me. I've decided to take a spirit with the most potential to one of my new universes," Omni said. Why me?" Naruto asked, shocked along with the angels. "Because unlike the other destroyers you seem to be the most humble, which is baffling considering your species. Also it has come to my attention that you are a soul that is shared by all gods." I'm not the only god to preside of a multiverse, and you my friend have counterparts in literally 31.1 different multiverses," Omni King said, causing the others' eyes to widen. "Naruto Uzumaki. You were chosen by Kami, the one who stands above all gods, to be a child of prophecy. I will not lose your soul to my son's childish antics when he inevitably decides to erase things." "Uzumaki?" Naruto thought to himself. "I will give you the knowledge needed for you to survive in this new world." "Bye." "Why?" Naruto tried to say, but with a snap of Omni's fingers he was teleported away, much to the shock of Vados, Margarita, and Whis. "Whis, you have 9,000 years to find a suitable replacement for the god of destruction of Universe 7. Also no one can know of this," Mother said to Whis, who was still in shock over the disappearance of his best friend, student. "Destroy this planet as well, the souls will be recycled," Omni ordered. DC Multiverse. Naruto yelled as his body was ripped apart and put back together as he traveled to his new world. After being spat out of a black portal in the form of a 16-year-old, Naruto landed in an alley and immediately got up and looked around before he gripped his head when it began to pound as he shouted, and blood dripped from his nose from the memories that were forcing themselves into his head and rearranging themselves into an order. Once the memories settled he began to pant in exhaustion and pain as his younger body ached, while he focused on the foreign memories. He was Naruto Uzumaki, prince of all Saiyans, born on planet Sadala. Planet Vegeta, another planet that a faction of Saiyans had took from Tuffles, had waged war with backing from frost demons, and the fighting had took its toll on the planet, with a key blast hitting the planet's core. His mother had knocked him out and got him off the planet. Wiping the blood from his nose, Naruto stumbled forward, mentally going over who he really was. "I am Naruto of Universe 7. God of Destruction and Battle. The first ever Saiyan to achieve the Super Saiyan form. Sadala doesn't have any forms of government, or at least it didn't the last time I was there. My parents died when I was a child. I don't know any Frieza, only Frost Demon I know are Blizzard my predecessor and Chilled both who I killed. I'm not some barbarian who preaches about blood purity. I've learned of Ki, God Ki, and Ultra Instinct from angels of all 18 universes and the more versatile chakra from Hagoromo. I don't belong here. A light, along with a horn got his attention and Naruto looked up to see a car heading for him, and raised his hands to defend himself when the car stopped and a man got out of the car. Oh my god. What are you doing out in the middle of the road? A man yelled, rushing to Naruto, who looked at him before he fainted. The old man caught Naruto, and noticed the monkey tail attached to the back of his pants, and his eyes widened slightly before he looked around and immediately helped the kid into the backseat and quickly drove off. Later, Naruto groaned as he opened his eyes to see he was in a lab of some kind. You're awake. The old man from earlier said, walking forward, and Naruto's eyes narrowed, but the man raised his hands. My name is Daniel Briefs, and this is my home/place of work. I'm a scientist, you see, and I get the feeling that you're not from around here. What was the first clue? Naruto asked, sitting up. Well, your tail, to be honest. Dr. Briefs said, lighting a cigarette. If you're hoping to experiment on me, pal, let me tell you, you won't like the results. Naruto said, glaring at the man slightly. He might be younger, which meant he needed to regrow to get his power back under proper control, but he could still wipe the floor with an old man. Experiment? Oh no, none of that. Dr. Briefs smiled before he frowned. I lost my wife and my daughter Bulma while back in the Americas during the meteor shower. I've been alone here with my inventions. You're here from some destroyed planet, right? The god of my universe sent me here because I'm some important soul or something. Naruto said, looking around. The god of your universe? Dr. Brief asked in surprised. I was a god of destruction, but my work ethic wasn't what you called the best, as I spent most of my time eating, training, and having with any beautiful woman I could find, and according to the Grand Priest, the king of everything didn't like how I saved innocent people from the fate of their planet. Now I'm here, de-aged to being a brat once more, with no way of getting back to my home. Naruto ranted in annoyance. I can't help you get back home, but I can help you settle into making this planet your home. Dr. Brief said, looking at Naruto hopefully. I'm good, Naruto said. Come on, what do you got to lose? Dr. Brief said as Naruto looked at him. You obviously have no place to go. What do you want from me, Omni? Naruto asked, causing Dr. Briefs to smile before in a flash Grand Omni appeared. To be a protector for this world. Omni said. Protect it from what? I've made this world just for you. I just couldn't help myself. I took threats a Saiyan named Kakarot from Universe 7 would have dealt with and modernized it to fit into this world, with you as its hero. Omni said, proud of himself. For what purpose? Something I haven't seen before. A Saiyan Naruto Uzumaki, fighting other Saiyans, frost demons and androids before going on to join the Justice League. Omni laughed giddy. Entertainment, Naruto said. You know how it is. Unfortunately, your lovers Bulma and Chi-Chi will be reborn in Universe 7 and marry Saiyans and have their offspring. But on the bright side, you will have beauties of your own to hopefully carry your seed. Omni said as he had pictures of future superheroes. Assassins appear in front of Naruto, who blinked. There will be strong people for you to fight as well. All I want for you to do is live your life here, Naruto. You're a protector at heart in every version of you that I have seen, even your evil versions. I've sealed off all ways back to the Dragon Realm. You will never ever see it again. Omni stretched his arms out, indicating to the world around Naruto and himself. This is your life now. Enjoy it, he said before he began to glow slightly. Mr. Brief's memories of you are that you are his adopted son that he found in a pod, hurt and unconscious. He loves you and will do anything to make sure you are strong and have the values of a hero. Enjoy. Naruto watched as Omni left the body of Daniel, who fainted, and quickly he caught the man and placed him on the bed, and he didn't know how to feel, to be honest. He would never see his friends and lovers again, but they would go on to have families of their own, they would be happy, so why couldn't he? Naruto gave a small smile and with a nod walked over to a board and with a marker began to write. Few minutes later, Daniel awoke with a groan, wondering when he fell asleep, before he smiled brightly when he saw his adopted alien son at the whiteboard. What you got there, son? I have blueprints for a artificial gravity chamber and equipment I can use to train, Dad. Naruto said, blinking. That's going to take some getting used to. Let's see here. Daniel said, scratching his head as he looked over the blueprints, and after a moment smirked. Before he looked to Naruto, let's get started. Naruto smirked. At least this life was off to a good start. Week later, Naruto took it back. What had been an amazing few days with his adopted father had effectively been ruined when he was told that he would going to school, and here he was in first period, being glanced at by the children before the teacher stood up. Good morning, class. Now before we start with the lesson, I'm sure some of you have noticed that we have a new student joining us. If you would please stand and introduce yourself to us. Naruto sighed and stood up. Hi, my name is Naruto. I'm the adopted son of Daniel Briefs, and I hope to get to know you all. He drawled before he sat down. Okay, and Naruto, for future reference, the school understand one's need to express themselves, but hair dye is not permitted. This is my natural hair, Naruto said, leaning his cheek on his hand as he looked at the teacher, who blinked. Oh, okay, the teacher said before he cleared his throat and began to the lesson. This sucks, Naruto said to himself. He wished he had a technique to clone himself, but since he has never experimented with chakra, now would be a time to learn to use it, since the energy was more versatile than ki. Later, Naruto was putting up some of his books into his locker when he was approached. Hi. Blinking, Naruto looked over his shoulder to see a blonde girl clutching her books, smiling at him. Hey. He said, my name is Alexandra Garcia, but you can call me Alex. Alex said with her hand out to shake. From Kuroko no Basket. Naruto. Naruto smiled, shaking her hand. You know, all the other kids around here seem to be very uppity? Alex asked. Not the word I was going for, but yeah. Naruto said. Well, the entire student body are made up of kids from rich families. Doesn't stop them from acting like kids from other schools though. Alex replied as Naruto closed his locker. So have you found a club yet? No, because if I'm not mistaken, then that means I have to stay here longer than I want to. Naruto shrugged. Yeah, but it's a great way to make friends. Alex said. I thought that's what I was doing now. Naruto asked, turning to face Alex, who smiled. Is that your way of asking if I will be your friend? Alex asked, getting a shrug from Naruto. I will if you try to join a club, I'll even help. Naruto nodded with a grin. He promised Daniel that he'd tried to make at least one friend, and it seemed to be easier than he remembered. Later, Naruto was walking around looking for any club he might be interested in joining. Alex was on the women's basketball team, whatever that was. As he looked at his phone and researched football, LTHE coach for the team walked over. Hey, you're the new kid, right? Yeah, Naruto said. Listen, we need players for our team. Why don't you come and try out? The coach said, getting a shrug from Naruto. Have you ever played quarterback and cornerback? Naruto said, remembering the two positions he saw, even though he has never played this sport in his life. Okay, let's see, the coach said before Naruto went to get into the practice gear. Look at this clown, a jock said with a scoff, standing with the cheerleaders and other football players. The new kid wants a shot at popularity. Another jock chuckled. Well, he'll have to earn that. Another jock smirked, getting smirks from the others as the cheerleaders shook their heads while they undressed Naruto with their eyes. Okay, we'll start you off at quarterback. Naruto nodded and got in position like he remembered seeing on the videos he watched. Let's welcome the new guy. A linebacker said with a smirk as Naruto got ready. Alright, down, set, hut. Naruto grabbed the ball and backed up, watching as the defensive team easily got past his blockers and narrowed his eyes before he ducked while spinning through two defenders and lightly tossed the ball to his receiver, who caught it, but the force of the throw causing the ball to drag him out of bounds and into the ground. A few more drills were ran with the players trying to embarrass Naruto, but he always dodged the players and tossed the ball directly at a player. When it was time for him to be a cornerback, Naruto was in position, and when the ball was hiked and the man he was covering got the ball and charged straight at him with his helmet first. Naruto moved out of the way, while with a knife hand jabbed his fingers into the ball, popping it loose, and had his free hand palm it underneath his man's arm before he turned and ran toward the touchdown, dodging the players in his way when the quarterback tried to tackle him. Naruto planted his feet and leaned back while putting the ball behind his back and kicked a leg forward as his hand found its way to the quarterback's helmet before he slapped it down, sending it into the grass, and continued uncontested to the end zone. Naruto sighed. Football was boring with no real competition, so he tossed the ball back to the coach, who caught it with a grunt and began to take off the gear. Hey, Naruto blinked and looked up to see the head cheerleader smiling at him as he took off the shoulder pads. "Hey. I saw you out there and you were amazing." The girl said, her eyes gazing over the muscles and abs of Naruto as he reached for a shirt. "Thanks." Naruto smiled. "I'm Eflay, by the way." Naruto said, shaking her hand before he put his t-shirt on and grabbed his vest. "Maybe this won't be so bad." After the first day of school, Naruto made an enemy of the captain of the football team for not only embarrassing him out on the field but also talking to his girlfriend. School was a breeze. With Naruto's ability to remember everything he's seen, he was a straight-A student. He joined the basketball team and was the star player, being given the name the Marksman since he never missed, and of course slept around the school with students and a few teachers. His best friend Alexandria learned about his history and was in awe of it. He taught her to shoot better and eventually she was drafted into the WNBA. In the 10 years since Naruto was given a new life, he's enjoyed it much more than his old one. He's felt lose this life as well, with the passing of Daniel Briefs, who was a titan in the world and shocked and saddened everyone when he succumbed to lung cancer at the age of 54. Naruto had grew fond of the chain-smoking genius in the years they spent together. He was a dedicated man who just wanted to make life easier for people and worked at a soup kitchen every holiday, gave millions of dollars to charities, and funds for education and people in need. Naruto and Dr. Briefs worked on the gravity room together, a place where Naruto could train, and the man even helped him find ingredients needed for senzu beans, as well as helped the man make a ship capable of interstellar travel, but that was a secret. Naruto took over for Daniel at Capsule Corp as CEO, while also becoming a world best-selling author for his books Final Fantasy, Loveless, Makeout Paradise, and his manga series Fairy Tail, Bleach, and One Piece, which were retelling of worlds he's visited and destroyed. Naruto loved his life. His vices still held strong, unfortunately. Ramen, training, and were impossible for him to give up, and unfortunately it was about to come to an end. Currently Naruto was in his gravity room training under 4900 times Earth's normal gravity. The gravity room was more like a field that Naruto took from Ichigo's retelling of Kazuki Urahara's basement facility. It was outfitted with artificial gravity machines, training robots, and virtual reality equipment. It is here we'll find 26-year-old Naruto doing fingertip handstand push-ups when an alarm went off, causing him to grunt as the gravity was released and a monitor appeared showing the face of a frost demon hovering over a ship. "Greetings, Earthlings, my name is Frieza. I am the Emperor of the Universe, and I have come to take your planet for myself. If you wish to resist, then I will exterminate you all like the vermin that you are." Case in point. The monitor showed Frieza point out to an island, and a key beam was launched and a huge explosion took place before the smoke cleared to show the island completely gone. "I expect every leader you people have to give me your surrender or face a global catastrophe. You have 1 hour. The world was immediately in a frenzy. Not only did they just find out that aliens were real, but they had the power to wipe out all life with the point of a finger. Damn it. Naruto sighed as he left the room, and headed for his lab and walked to a suitcase. "In case you ever need to show the world what can you really do. Love, Dad." Naruto read before he opened the case and blinked at the outfit inside. This is Charlotte Rivers of LA News. It's been an hour since the alien spacecraft has appeared over the Pacific. The alien known as Frieza has issued his ultimatum, and so far no government has saw fit to surrender. "I'm just getting reports of military fighter jets are inbound. Frieza's ship." "Lord Frieza, your orders." "So the Earthlings don't wish to surrender, hey? Go exterminate them all." Frieza yelled before with cheers his people flew out and the 10 fighter jets that were on the scene were wiped out without effort. On the coast of Los Angeles, the people that were still outside saw the incoming aliens and with screams of fear all ran for cover. The first alien was almost to land when a blur shot forward and an explosion happened, causing everyone to stop, before the smoke cleared to show Naruto dressed in Saiyan armor, Bardock's outfit without battle skirt. "That armor," an alien said. "It's like the one Lord Frieza gave to the Saiyans before he wiped them all out." Another alien said. "A man has appeared to combat the alien siege, but he is still heavily outnumbered." Charlotte continued to report as footage played on televisions worldwide. "I'll only say this once. Turn around and leave," Naruto said. "What are you doing here, monkey? Lord Frieza exterminated all of you." "Obviously not," Naruto said with narrowed eyes. "Well, bringing your head will surely please our lord. Let's get him, boys." The leader said, getting cheers before the mob of aliens rushed Naruto, who scoffed and aimed a palm at them. Hakai. Naruto thought before a purple flash surrounded the aliens and they disintegrated with agonizing screams. Frieza's eyes widened when he saw the man wearing Saiyan armor appeared and did away with his foot soldiers. Not to worry, Lord Frieza, we shall take care of this. Frieza looked to see the Ginyu force head out to take on the Saiyan. No games, Ginyu, I want that Saiyan gone. Frieza yelled. Roger. Ginyu yelled as he and his team flew at Naruto at fast speeds, causing the Saiyan to turn toward them, and immediately he raised an arm to block Berter's elbow and dodged a kick from Ginyu, and flipped over Rikum, and teleported behind G-Ice and kicked him back. Seems this Saiyan is different than the others. Ginyu smirked. It doesn't matter, Captain, he's still just a space monkey. G-Ice yelled. We can't disappoint Lord Frieza, let's get this over with. Ginyu yelled before he looked to the new member, who was a four-eyed green short alien. Goldo, do your thing. Alright. Goldo yelled. Naruto raised an eyebrow before the alien did a pose, and next thing Naruto knew, he was getting punched by Rikum into the air. And as he turned to strike back at Berter, who was about to kick him, he caught Goldo aim his hands at him again before he was kicked from behind by Berter. This song and dance happened for a minute as the Ginyu Force used Goldo's time-stopping ability to thrash Naruto till suddenly Goldo exploded. What? Ginyu asked, looking at Goldo before he turned to Naruto, who smirked. Now let's really fight, Naruto said. Bastard. G-Ice yelled. Even though Goldo was new, he was still part of the team. Naruto was immediately rushed to the remaining members of Frieza's elite fighting force, and blocked with his arms and legs while they hammered away, before he vanished in an after-image, causing Ginyu to hit Rikum in the face, while Rikum kicked Berter, as G-Ice punched Ginyu in the gut, and Berter elbowed G-Ice in the jaw. Naruto appeared behind Berter and smirked. By final shine, a green blast of ki overtook the Ginyu Force with the exception of Ginyu and Rikum, who had seen Naruto appear. Naruto looked over when he heard yelling to see Rikum readying his ultimate move, Rieko Umi. Rikum called, as he started to then transfer the energy into his mouth. ULLTTRRAASSSEERRGGGUUUNN. With that said, Rikum fired a largely wide, thick and focused pink energy ray beam towards Naruto, who appeared and caught the head of the blast with his palm, smirking. What? Ginyu yelled in shock before Naruto shoved the blast back into Rikum's head and gripped his mouth tightly. Die, Naruto said before a yellow beam overtook Rikum's firm, erasing him from existence. Bastard. Naruto leaned back and punched Ginyu in the face, sending him spiraling away. You dirty Saiyan monkey, look what you have done. The Ginyu Force is the best fighting force in the universe. We have helped Lord Frieza enslave countless planets and exterminate plenty of races, your filthy species being chief among them. Ginyu yelled for all to hear. It was the best fighting force the universe has ever seen, you mean? Naruto smirked. And you keep talking about the Saiyans. Here's some information I don't care. Earth is my home, and the humans are people. You hope to enslave or wipe them out, and I refuse for you to do so. Then die with them. Ginyu yelled enraged before he fired his milky blast toward the humans on the beach watching. Naruto's eyes widened as a mother held her child while screaming while everyone tried to run, before Naruto appeared and took the blast head on and yelled as the purple ball of energy expanded, overtaking him completely. Everyone looked on in horror as the man who protected them was gone. Ginyu smirked as Frieza appeared beside him, laughing. He, well done, Ginyu. Took longer than I would have liked, but you've done well. Frieza said. Decay, you my lord. What should we do now? Ginyu asked. That Saiyan has infested this world, I no longer want it. We will destroy it, Frieza said, getting a nod before his eyes widened when from the cloud of smoke where the milky blast detonated, a small beam of ki took the upper right side of Ginyu's head, killing him, causing the corpse to fall into the ocean as Naruto appeared, his armor a bit damaged, but he was otherwise okay. All of you leave now, Naruto said, floating up as the humans nodded and quickly retreated to a more safer position. Well, you are different from those monkeys. I guess I will have to kill the last remnant of your pathetic race. Frieza said before with a yell he rushed Naruto as he went directly to his final form. Naruto narrowed his eyes before he caught Frieza's punch, and a shockwave shattered every window in a 15 miles radius. The two quickly vanished in a blink of an eye, and reappeared in mid-combat and vanished again. With a roar, Naruto charged at Frieza, who dodged the fist thrown at him. Frieza then struck at Naruto, who grabbed the fist before kneeing Frieza in the gut, then giving an uppercut with a double axe handle. Naruto then flew towards Frieza, delivering a barrage of hurricane kicks, and suddenly stopped B with a palm in Frieza's face. See ya. Naruto yelled before a blast to the face, sending Frieza down to the street. Frieza, far from finished, stopped his descent and fired a death beam at Naruto, who deflected it with minimum ease. However, it was only a distraction as Frieza appeared in front of Naruto, punching him in the gut before smacking him away with his tail. The Saiyan went flying towards a skyscraper before he stopped short of the windows where people were backing away, fired a black energy wave at Frieza, who knocked it away with his tail. Naruto growled as he flashed above Frieza and sent Frieza flying down with an hammerfist. Frieza regained balance and glared Naruto, who gave an eye smile. Show me your power, Frost Demon. Naruto said, opening his eyes and narrowing them at Frieza, who smirked. You're boring me. That's my line, Saiyan monkey. Frieza yelled as he buffed up. I reduce you and this planet to space dust. Naruto sighed at the yelling before he vanished and sent a jab to Frieza's gut, causing Frieza to hunch over with wide eyes and a gaping mouth, before Naruto smashed a double axe handle on Frieza's head, sending him crashing down towards the ground, causing dirt and concrete to explode upwards as a 50-foot crater formed. Waiting for the cloud of smoke to vanish, Naruto's eyes widened when a death beam headed for his chest almost took him out. That hurt, Frieza yelled before he sped at Naruto, who rushed him in turn and threw a punch that connected with Frieza's face, but a tail wrapped around his neck, and he was assaulted by a flurry of punches to the gut, before an uppercut and kick sent him away. Frieza flew after the Saiyan and threw punch, but Naruto recovered, then grabbed his wrists. Not bad, fool. Naruto said. Then you'll like this, Frieza said as he twirled his hands, causing Naruto to turn sideways before he was punched in the gut, causing spittle to fly. And quickly he began to dodge the punches and kicks that Frieza sent at him, and was surprised by a ball of energy sending him flying away. Naruto held on to the ball, then threw it upward so he could rush at Frieza and throw his own punches and kicks that were dodged with ease. But Naruto connected a hook to the face and a knee to the stomach, before he grabbed Frieza's tail and swung him around, throwing him toward the sky, but he rebounded and smirked at Naruto. Well, not bad. Rather impressive actually. This fight is making me more assured that it was a good move to wipe out Planet Vegeta and Sadala. Frieza said, causing Naruto's eyes to narrow, but I grow tired of this game. Time to die. Naruto's eyes widened when his face was grabbed and he was sent slamming through a building into the ground. The police screamed and quickly shot at Frieza to help out, their only means of survival, but the bullets were of no effect. First I'll kill you, then I'll hunt down these humans you seem to love so much, one by one. Then once they're all gone, so will this planet be. Frieza laughed cruelly before a her was kicked in the nose, sending him flying up, as Naruto had punted him through the hole that was made, while the clone that was being choked dispersed. Naruto looked to the officers. Thanks for trying to help. Thank us by finishing him. The police captain yelled, getting a nod from Naruto, who flew out to meet Frieza. Naruto met Frieza midway and threw a barrage of kicks and punches that Frieza just either blocked or dodged. Amused, Frieza grabbed onto Naruto's ankle then and threw the Saiyan down before he fired off a full-powered energy wave from each hand. Naruto deflected the two waves, but it was only a distraction as Frieza hit Naruto to the side then punched him in the gut. Frieza kept going with his fist still lodged in Naruto's gut, and slammed him into a building's wall. With ease, Frieza brought Naruto up then slammed him into the ground. Frieza then pushed Naruto down with more strength into the ground, causing the man to go flying into the sewer underground. His minor victory was short-lived when Naruto reappeared and struck Frieza in the chin with the elbow and gave a backhand hook to Frieza's face before sending a storm of energy blasts at the tyrant. Frieza deflected them and sent a barrage of death beams at Naruto, who speed forward, slapping them onto the sky away from any buildings and people. I've really gotten rusty, Naruto thought while sending a blur energy wave at Frieza, who knocked it away. Naruto however appeared right above Frieza, with a lightning-charged fist spearing straight through Frieza's body, but it soon faded away, revealing it to be an after-image. Naruto grunted as Frieza reappeared, sent Naruto down into the ground with a axe kick. Naruto flipped so his feet hit the street and charged back up at Frieza, who laughed and rushed towards him and hit him away, before he rushed at Naruto and was going to knee him when Naruto vanished, appeared over Frieza, grabbing his head and slamming it into the ground. RKO. Causing Frieza to gag. Naruto stood up and gripped Frieza's tail and threw him high into the air, and with a roar a ki beam shot mouth, overtaking Frieza. Naruto's eyes darted around before they widened, and he looked up to see Frieza's glaring at him murderously, holding up a very large energy sphere that resembled the sun. "You filthy monkey! I have had enough of you and this planet. Die!" Frieza roared as he launched the ball of energy towards Naruto. "Shit!" Naruto cursed before he held up his hands and caught the blast. However, it only slowed down a little bit and continued to push Naruto down toward the street as the ball kept going, as if it wasn't being held back. "Ha ha ha ha. Yes, I'll kill you in your home using the same fireworks I used to wipe out your planet." Frieza laughed as the Saiyan touched back on the ground, putting in effort to hold it back. Naruto closed his eyes. "I've had enough. Ka mi ha mi." Naruto's hair raised and the black tresses flashed golden as his eyes turned teal. "Ha." The Saiyan roared as he transformed into a Super Saiyan and launched his move, which began to push the supernova back towards Frieza with ease. "No, damn USAIYANS." Frieza screamed as his hands met with his own attack, to push it back, but it was useless as Naruto's Super Saiyan form outclassed him completely. Gra ahh. Frieza roared as he was blasted into his ship that was pushed back with him all the way into the sun, before he and the ship was vaporized into complete utter nothingness. Naruto stood there in his Super Saiyan form, glaring up at the sun as he sensed Frieza's energy vanish completely, and with a sigh he returned to normal. Immediately cheers caused Naruto to blink and turn around to see people rushing him and surrounding him. He sounded as questions were asked and gratitude was expressed, and he found himself smiling at the people. Finished. Naruto. Dr. Gerald Evo is fired from Capsule Corp and goes through depression and loses everything, and commits suicide when his wife leaves him and his son dies. His brother Anthony Evo blames Naruto and sends to early models of the Amazo after Naruto, who is helped by Power Girl. A man was in a lab working along on a robotic contraption when the TV went off. This just in, world-famous author and CEO of Capsule Corp Naruto Uzumaki, adopted son of the late Daniel Briefs, is an alien. The figure stopped and turned to the television, as it played footage of Naruto's fight against Frieza and his men, after saving countless people from the alien conqueror Frieza. Naruto has agreed to an interview. "We go live to Capsule Corp." The television turned to Naruto sitting down behind his desk in his office at Capsule Corp, while Cat Grant of Catco sat across from him. "Mr. Uzumaki, thank you for agreeing to this interview in such a short time." Cat said. "No problem." Naruto smiled as he leaned back into his comfortable chair. "I'm sure the people have questions, and I have nothing to hide." "It's interesting that you say that, since you have hidden the fact that you are an alien for your entire life." Cat said. "Well, I wouldn't call it hiding, seeing as no one has ever asked me if I was an alien," Naruto replied, looking at Cat with a smile. "And it's never been a topic of discussion before the events of yesterday." "Right, so can I ask, why Earth?" Cat asked. "Huh?" Naruto asked with a raised eyebrow. "Why did you come to Earth, and not stay with your own people?" "My alien roots aren't local to this plane of existence," Naruto said. "What do you mean?" Cat asked, and Naruto made to speak when she interrupted him. "Mr. Naruto, the world is tuning in to hear your story. Please tell the world watching who and what you truly are." Lois said. "Okay. The multiverse is a concept that refers to the existence of infinite universes that comprise everything that is. Each universe within the multiverse is referred to as a different Earth, and each vibrates at a different frequency so that they cannot normally interact with or be seen by each other. The same can be said for every multiverse out there, but unlike the universes, they orbit different sectors of space. I come from Dragon Universe 7. 400 million years ago, Grand Omni, the god of Maya in this multiverse, separated 20 universes and gave them to his son Zeno to watch and rule over, while Omni continued his work. Zeno with his attendant the Grand Priest formed a system to manage the 20 universes. 2 deities would watch over each, with an angel to watch over them. Only Xeno was a very childish and detached being, completely erasing 2 of the 20 universes he was given because the ruling deities thought it was beneath them to engage in a game of hide and go seek with him and the other deities. The deities in charge of the universes were the supreme kais, the gods or goddesses of creation, while the opposite of the spectrum was the gods or goddesses of destruction. The destroyers are deities who destroy planets, races or threats that put in risk the development of their respective universes, as opposed to the supreme kais, who create and fill planets with life, in order to maintain the balance of the universe. Along with the kais, they rule and oversee the formerly 20, currently 18 universes, with each universe having its own destroyer. Where do you fit into this? Kat asked, interested. I am a Saiyan from Universe 7, a naturally aggressive warrior race that strives to be the strongest warriors in the universe. It didn't work out that way, since my people got caught up in its infighting, that no roads were being made to communicate with other species to challenge. I lost my parents at the age of 10, my father to a Saiyan pack, and my mother to a heart virus. I grew up alone, fighting anyone that attacked me to survive, and being filled with disappointment that my people would rather fight each other than make life better for everyone as a whole. Saiyans are outwardly very similar to that of humans, with the exception of our monkey-like tails. We are commonly seen to have black spiky hair and black eyes with rare colors of brown, blue and blonde hair and purple eyes. Wait, did you say tail? Kat asked before her eyes widened when Naruto's tail unwrapped from his waist and waved behind his shoulder. Yes, I did, Naruto said, smiling at the shocked woman. Now where was I? Oh, that's right. I spent my childhood fighting and training myself to get stronger, and when I was strong enough I tried to put a stop to my brethren's foolish infighting, but I was unsuccessful and viewed as nothing more than trash. I tried for years, but after time I just gave up on them and left. I traveled to distant worlds and learned under the strongest fighters won the planet and adopted an abandoned planet as my own. When I was 21, I met the angel to my god of destruction Whis. A member of Frieza's race was the god of destruction of my universe, and Whis was looking for a replacement. I didn't know it at the time, but when the destroyer came for me he pitched the idea that I would be a part of his family's galactic empire and wanted to use my fighting talents to conquer worlds. And when I refused we came to blows and I defeated him. It was then that Whis told me that since I won a battle with the destroyer that I had 2 choices: take his place, or be erased with my universe. So, you were a god of destruction? Kat asked, a bit afraid. That's right. I was reluctant to accept such a position, but Whis explained to me that I get to choose how I did the job, and I did. I destroyed war-torn worlds, and saved the innocent inhabitants, placing them on the planet I adopted, and protected those in need of my power. I thought I was doing a good job, but apparently a god of destruction was never supposed to protect anything but the status quo of his or her universe. Xeno and his priest stayed on my case when I refused to just destroy everything in my path haphazardly, when I wasn't training or engaged in other adult-oriented activities. Kat blushed, having a good idea at what he was talking about. I continued to do the job that was forced on me, in the way I chose to do it, when Grand Omni appeared and said he had a place for me in his main multiverse, a place I can live my life the way I want to, before he kidnapped me and stuck me here forever, sealing of any attempts and methods to my universe. And I have to say I have been happy here. I got to experience life with a parent and not have to fight to live. I have friends who I care about and will protect to the best of my abilities, and people who, while aren't the best species, have a decent amount of people who actually tries to better themselves. But why didn't you give this universe, Saiyans, a try to see if they were what you were looking for? Kat asked. Frieza said he blew up planet Sadala, so I can't say if there are any other Saiyans out there. If there are more members of your race, what would you say to them? Kat asked. If you're here to cause trouble, you will regret it, Naruto said seriously. A wrench was thrown into the TV at Naruto's visage, causing it to crack, and immediately the man got up and walked to a desk and pulled up blueprints for the Capsule Corp arc reactor, and his own absorption cell. Alien or not, that bastard will pay for what he did to Jero. The man growled before he looked at a picture of himself and another man. No worries, brother, I swore on your grave that Naruto will pay for ruining your life, and I intend to keep that promise. With Naruto. After the interview, Naruto was pushed onto his bed with Kat on top of him, the two kissing heavily as they took off each other's clothes as they began to have lustful, with Naruto none the wiser of the revenge plot being made against him. 6 months later. After the interview, Naruto's popularity had skyrocketed, and he had taken an active role in protecting people. Some religious circles weren't too excited with his presence, as they felt Naruto's story about gods and angels were blasphemous. Government officials who Naruto had denied contracts with in the past tried to force partnerships and recruit him into the military, but luckily the president was a fan of his work, so for now Naruto was untouchable to the more overzealous humans in the White House. Currently Naruto was out in the middle of the Sahara Desert. "Okay, let's try again," Naruto said before his hair raised and he went Super Saiyan, before in another flash his crimson bangs raised, giving him horns as lightning flickered around his body. Super Saiyan 2 checks out. Clenching his fist tightly, Naruto dived deep into himself, and as his power eager around him, his hair began to grow longer. With a single bang, as his brows disappeared, suddenly Naruto's power vanished and he was back to normal. This body still hasn't matured enough to handle Super Saiyan 3, damn it. Naruto grunted before he used God Ki, and immediately the crimson color that dyed his bangs spread to completely cover his entire hair. As his eyes turned red, before he tried to ascend to his other form, and as red fur began to emerge on his skin, but like with Super Saiyan 3 he fell out of the transformation before he could truly attain it, damn it. Naruto yelled frustrated, before he calmed down and sighed, "I need to get my mind off of this." After flying home, Naruto changed and went out to a club. "Hey Naruto," the crowd yelled as they saw the Saiyan who waved as pictures were taken. "Can we see your tail?" Someone yelled, but Naruto already entered. "Oh ladies and gentlemen, guess who just walked into the club? Los Angeles' own protector from another dimension, the alien, playboy, genius, author, philanthropist Naruto." A spotlight was placed on Naruto as the DJ announced his arrival. "Let's have fun," he said, causing everyone to cheer as the music restarted and people began to dance. Naruto relaxed as he was in the club, and even managed to score 3 beautiful models to accompany him back to his place, and after a good night with the trio he saw them off, went to wash up. After going through his morning routine, Naruto went to his book signing. "Hi, how are you?" Naruto smiled, accepting the woman's copy of Loveless. "And your name is?" "Chloe, I'm your biggest fan," a woman said as Naruto signed the book for her. "Thank you, I really appreciate it." Naruto smiled, handing her the book that she hugged to her chest before she walked away and another person walked up. Meanwhile, outside a mall, people were running away as smoke from a destroyed car was seen. As 2 figures walked across the street, ignoring the oncoming traffic. A man saw the 2 in the middle of the street and quickly jerked on the steering wheel and slammed into another car, causing a pileup. The 2 continued on, ignoring the commotion, and saw a man using a payphone and pushed him through the glass of the mall and continued forward, walking through walls, glass, and tossing people aside when they got in their way, and walked right out the back out into the parking lot, and the 2 kept moving forward toward the next mall. A police squad car swerved around the corner and headed for the 2, only for the larger of the 2 to aim his fingers at them, and a green ray of energy sliced the car right through the middle. The 2 continued on, leaving a path of destruction till they were on a straight path to the mall, and the 2 eyes seemed to glow and zoom into the top floor where Naruto was still signing books. "Target located," the smaller figure announced. Naruto was unaware of the incoming men, as he signed a book for a child and shook his hand. The 2 men boarded an escalator, ignoring the commotion around them. As they walked off on the next floor by a wall of television, the TVs began to spark and explode. People stopped and looked back to the 2, and as they walked toward a vendor who was ready to help them in any way he could, he was slapped aside into a wall, and his vendor was crushed. But the 2 didn't stop and walked straight for the elevator, and the smaller figure raised a hand and a beam from his hand blew the doors off, and the 2 entered, and at the bottom of their feet and hands small circles appeared and energy raised them up so they could fly up the elevator shafts, and punched a large hole in the elevator, ignoring all the people looking at them in shock. Stopping at the floor just under Naruto, the figures blew the doors outward, causing the people on the other side to shout and fall back. The 2 walked forward, looking up at the ceiling, seeing Naruto's heat signature, and they stopped when they were right underneath him. "Target above, commencing attack," the smaller figure said before he raised his hands, followed by the larger figure, and they both aimed at the ceiling as their palms began to glow. With Naruto. "Hi, and your name is?" Naruto asked, looking at the girl before him, sensing her unique energy signature, as she cleared her throat and fixed her glasses. "Kara Danvers." Kara smiled, handing Naruto her copy of Loveless. I'm a huge fan of yours. I really like how you don't hide who you are, and stay true to yourself. Thanks. Naruto smiled while signing the book. Can I ask you something? Kara asked. Naruto looked up and made to speak when the building began to shake, causing everyone to look around before everyone and everything began to float off of the ground and the floor began to glow. Eyes wide, Naruto quickly deactivated the weights on his clothes and made his move just as the floor exploded. Out of the cloud of smoke, Naruto carried the 30 people that held onto him and each other tightly as he flew to a nearby building and dropped them safely. Are you all alright? He asked. Why yeah. Everyone said or nodded before Naruto turned to the mall and with narrowed eyes flew over as the people took out their phones and began to record. Looking over the destroyed floors, Naruto narrowed his eyes when he saw a short figure with a hat and a suit along with glasses with the tag 15 on his tie, and a large gray man with long black hair in a braided ponytail, a leather shoulder strap, and brown pants with the brand that said 14 on his shoulder. Are you responsible for this? Naruto asked with narrowed eyes. Target engaged. Mission kill Naruto. Android 15 said before he and Android 14 raised their hands and aimed at Naruto. So that's why I can't sense anything, they're machines. Although the energy they used to blow up the floor, it was similar to the energy of my arc reactor. Someone stole the blueprints for it and used it to power these things. Naruto thought before he turned and flew away, but 2 orbs of energy followed him. Those seem like ki blast, so since androids can't use ki, they substituted and improved upon the energy of the reactor. As the energy orbs headed for Naruto, he moved out of the way and glanced back to the androids heading for him while he turned toward them and batted away an energy orb from number 15, before he blocked a hook from number 14. Dodging the fast punches and kicks number 14 began to unleash, before he jumped back and was kicked by the midget android, sending him toward a skyscraper. Unbothered by the attack, Naruto spun in the air, stopping himself from slamming through the skyscraper, and flew through the streets till number 15 appeared behind a skyscraper and Naruto punched him in the gut and kicked him in the chin, sending the dwarf into the sky, before he back-flipped over number 14 and landed on his back, kicking the large android to the street. The bystanders who were watching screamed when the android fell toward them, causing Naruto to click his teeth before he blinked from existence and kicked number 15 in the torso, sending it up to number 15, who moved out of the way, with a large energy orb between his hands and feet that he quickly threw at Naruto, who was mindful of the people beneath him. Flying up toward the orb, Naruto punched it, causing it to explode. Eyes searching, Naruto was surprised when he was kicked in the back by number 15, sending him flying into number 14, who immediately began to throw a left and a right jab into Naruto's gut, while number 15 began to kick him repeatedly in the back. Number 14 began to throw in uppercuts and hooks to Naruto's face, before they stopped as Naruto looked up at them smirking. The two responded by punching him in the face together. Naruto flew back and was embedded into a building, opening his eyes, which were now gray. The Saiyan sighed and allowed his eyes to return to their black color. They aren't worth that, Naruto said to himself as he looked at the 2 androids and raised an eyebrow at the figure behind them. Number 14 felt someone tap his shoulder and he turned to eat a punch to the face from Supergirl, causing number 15 to look to see her smiling down at him before he was kicked after number 14. I had everything under control, you know, Naruto said, floating forward. They were pummeling you, Supergirl replied, placing her fist on her waist. I like to see what my opponent has to offer before I dismantle them, Naruto said, smirking. Some people would say, your arrogance in announcing your identity is the cause of this, Supergirl said. I have had my pride, and refuse to dress up in pajamas, and call myself some fancy name to protect myself in this city. The name my mother and father gave me is enough for me, and last I checked vigilantism is illegal, Naruto said, causing Supergirl to nod, respecting his decision. Who are they? Kara asked, causing Naruto to shrug. No idea, all they said was, kill Naruto, number 14 said. That, Naruto said, looking to the androids who rose up before he saw a new one wearing a vest, green pants and a trucker hat with the number 13 on it arrive and stood beside them. 2 on 3. We can take him, Supergirl smirked, cracking her knuckles. Naruto cracked his neck and smirked. I like you, he said. Supergirl blushed before Naruto appeared before number 13 and punched him in the face, while Kara super sped forward and punched at number 14, who dodged before she was kicked by number 15 in the gut and punched in the face, sending her through 3 buildings. Supergirl. Naruto yelled before he turned to see number 14 upon him, and he was punched in the jaw, sending him down, but his leg was grabbed and he was yanked back into an energy orb that was shoved into his chest, causing him to grunt as he was sent flying back and the orb exploded. Shaking the blast off with ease, Naruto flipped and dodged the punches. Number 13 tried to land and grabbed the android's vest and yanked him forward into a knee, causing it to fold over his knee before Naruto grabbed its arm and spun around, so he was behind the android, and grabbed its other arm before he tucked his knees to his chest and kicked number 13 right in the back, sending the android flying forward without its arms that he crushed and tossed aside, and with the point of his finger Naruto reduced the android to ash. Pathetic. Naruto scoffed before he looked to see number 14, who tackled him to a building and began to land headbutt after headbutt before he kneed the Saiyan in the gut and grabbed him by the face before squeezing, only for Naruto to place a hand at 14's chest, and his eyes seemed to flash white before the entire upper body of the android exploded. Looking to Supergirl, Naruto saw her being punched in the gut repeatedly by number 15 before she grabbed the dwarf's hands and crushed them. Watching her stand up and prepare to kill the android, Naruto flew toward her. "Say good night." Supergirl smirked, her eyes glowing as she was ready to reduce number 15 to ash. "Please wait a moment, Kara," Naruto said, causing her eyes to widen, turning to Naruto. How did yo? I can sense energy signatures. You stand out more than meta-humans, because of your alien ancestry." Naruto smiled at the girl. "Why did you stop me?" Supergirl asked. "I want to study it and find out who manufactured it so I can hunt him down and deal with him." "You mean destroy him?" Supergirl asked hesitantly. "If the situation calls for it, yes." Naruto nodded. "You're going to kill him?" Supergirl asked, shocked. "I may look like I'm young, but please remember that I have been dishing out my brand of justice for centuries. I appreciate you coming here, because I'm sure I would have lost my focus on protecting the people from the damage of the fight, but I was in no danger." Naruto said, looking at the Kryptonian. "The man responsible for this has one chance to turn over a new leaf. If he spits on it, he's a dead man." Naruto picked up number 15 and shoved his hand into the chest of the android and removed its power core. "I'll study this and hopefully I can find this guy before he can make something more annoying." "Thank you, Kara. We should get dinner sometime." Naruto smiled as he put the core away and began to fly around and gather each android for study at the lab. Unknown lab. Anthony Evo smirked. "I see. Whatever it is he is using can't be copied by my machines, but Supergirl's powers can, and if her powers can be copied, that means Superman's can," he said as his androids had been scanning and recording the entire fight. Looking to his desk where a paper was, Evo began to write the title of his new project. 3 weeks later. It's been 3 weeks since the attack of the androids, and Naruto had been hard at work helping repair the damage done to the city, training, and studying the androids' parts. The android all had cameras in their bodies and scanners as well. The energy source, as he had thought, was from his arc reactor, and he had found the blueprints for them in the archives, meaning someone from his dad's time in charge had a copy of them. After studying the androids and making his discoveries, Naruto completely disposed of the parts, no closer to figuring out who manufactured them, and was ready to move on to researching more about his dad's project to see who had helped him build the reactor, when his satellite went off. "What now?" Naruto asked himself, walking to a computer and pressed a button before he blinked in confusion when he saw an purple portal above Jump City, California, and quickly flew out of the window. Naruto flew quickly to the city, when there was an explosion and he landed in the deserted street to see 4 winged aliens fighting a red-haired girl around the age of his body. "It's the dead of night, I should put an end to this before people began to take notice," Naruto said before an explosion of energy and mass illusion was placed over the city, keeping the inhabitants asleep, before he took to the skies. The girl flew away from her pursuers when 2 of them came from around a skyscraper, and she managed to dodge the first one but was hit in the head, sending her hurtling to the ground, causing a crater to form. The aliens landed and surrounded the crater before one of them slapped the girl across the face with the butt of his axe, knocking her out, before 2 others grabbed her arms and began to drag her away. The aliens stopped when Naruto landed in front of them. "Leaving so soon?" Naruto asked. "This has nothing to do with you," the apparent leader said. 6 ugly aliens, ganging up on a hot redhead. "I say it has a lot to do with me." Naruto smirked before he shot in front of the leader in a blink of an eye, and an elbow to the alien's chin sent it flying through a skyscraper. Naruto turned to dodge a slash of Alien 2 battle axe, and a back fist to its temple sent it skipping across the ground into a store, before he reached up and gripped the axe heading for his head and smirked as Alien 3 used all of its strength to try to bludgeon him to death. "You're boring me," Naruto said before he kicked Alien 3 in the gut, sending it flying into one of the aliens holding the girl, who awoke and fired a green starbolt into its face, sending it flying back. "Agu ahfghu?" the girl asked, causing Naruto to raise an eyebrow. "Yeah, I didn't catch any of that," Naruto said, holding out his hand toward the girl, who was about to take it, but her eyes widened when the axe of Alien 3 came for Naruto's shoulder, but Naruto dodged the strike and turned and delivered an uppercut to Alien 3, before he grabbed its leg and slammed it into the ground and tossed up to the portal, with a ki blast following after it. As the ki blast entered the portal and exploded, a strong sucking wind began to pull cars, debris and the aliens to the portal. Naruto grabbed the red-haired girl as she was threatening to be pulled toward the portal before an alien grabbed her leg and held on, but Naruto's eyes flashed and two eye-beams ripped the alien's arm off, sending it flying up with the others. As Naruto floated there unbothered by the attracting winds before the portal exploded and everything calmed down, looking down to the girl, Naruto made to speak when suddenly she kissed him. "Thank you," the girl said as Naruto blinked. "No prob." Naruto smiled. Morning. After using his chakra to fix up the cars and skyscrapers that were damaged during his fight, Naruto had released the illusion, keeping the people asleep, and got the girl back to his estate. Currently the two were sitting across from each other, in the kitchen. "Okay, so tell me again, this time slowly," Naruto said as the girl had been talking so fast she began to speak in her alien language. "Okay, I am the youngest daughter of the first house of Tamaris on the planet Tamarin. A planet far, far away from here, in the Vega system. My name is Coriander, Starfire in your language," Starfire said, causing Naruto to nod. "My sister Commander was next in line to rule the kingdom when the Citadel, an aggressive race of aliens, attacked our peaceful planet. We are a peace-loving people. We never stood a chance. My parents were killed in the invasion, putting my sister in control of a losing battle. To save the lives of what remained of our people, she surrendered. Part of the agreement was that the invaders kept her as a figurehead in care of the throne, while I was banished from the kingdom. Commander did what she thought was right to save our people. I had been shipped off my planet to become a slave. I was tortured and experimented on. A result of this experimentation was that it unleashed a dormant power within me. A power that I was able to use to my advantage. I had heard tales of the Saiyan prince being on Earth, and when I heard we were in range of the planet, I led a revolt with the other slaves who had been captured before me. I wish to make this planet my home. Can you help me in assimilating into Earth culture?" "Sure," Naruto said with a nod. "There is much more to my story, but can I tell you about it some other time?" "It's fine, Cory," Naruto said. "Cory? I like this shortened version of my name." Coriander smiled brightly. "I'm glad. So what's this power that was unleashed?" Naruto asked, interested. "It is a starbolt, solar power that I can form into burst of concentrated energy," Starfire explained, nodding, "and compared to the natives of this planet, I have extraordinary strength and stamina." "I see," Naruto said, before he pointed to the bag. "What's in the bag?" "Oh, during the revolt and my escape I found these gems, and I was hoping that they would help me in making a life for myself on Earth," Starfire said, getting a nod from Naruto, who pulled out a phone. "I'll call in Jeweler," Naruto said, dialing a number. 3 days later, Lois sat at her desk smiling as she worked on her article. For the past 3 days she has spent her free time with Naruto and was loving every moment of it. The senator declined comment. "Done," Lois said, saving the article before she was surprised by a kiss on the cheek from Naruto. "And not a moment too soon." Naruto smiled. "Naruto, when did you?" "About 3 paragraphs ago. I didn't want to distract you," Naruto said before he jabbed a thumb over his shoulder. "I wanted to make good on my promise to get you that interview with Bruce." Lois blinked and looked back to see Bruce, who waved, before she turned back to Naruto with a large grin. "Thanks, I really owe you one. Give me a minute to see the chief, then I'm all yours, Mr. Wayne." Bruce nodded as Lois walked over to Clark, who was at his own desk. "Clark, keep an eye on Bruce, and Naruto, will you?" Clark looked over at Naruto and Bruce, who waved, "I'll be right back." "Actually, Lois," Clark began. "Don't be intimidated. Regale them with madcap tales of the nightlife in Smallville," Lois said, walking off. "She never stops, does she?" Bruce asked, walking over while Naruto went to the vendor machine. "Not that I've noticed." Clark shrugged before he looked to Bruce and frowned. "Any luck finding the comedian?" "3 nights, and not so much as a green hair." Bruce frowned, as Clark glanced over to Naruto, who was looking for what he wanted. "Does he know?" Clark asked. "About the Joker being in town?" Bruce asked. "About you?" "Of course, with his ability to sense the life force of others and the fact that some of my equipment was made with his help." "Sense the life force of others?" Clark asked, confused. "That's right, Superman," Naruto said behind Clark, who turned to face him, surprised he got behind him without him noticing. "So the Joker is in town, huh? Seems I've been missing all the fun," Naruto said, eating his cupcake. "You have been dividing your time between work and Lois," Clark said. "Is that a problem?" Naruto asked. "Let's just say I'm concerned. Your reputation is dubious in and out of costume. Also, there is that issue with you destroying planets. That's in my past, besides it's not like Lois never knew about me," Naruto said with a shrug. "Have you told her about you?" Naruto interrupted with a raised eyebrow, as Clark glared at him. "No, I may find secret identities idiotic, but that's just me. It's your secret to tell, not mine." Lois walked up with her purse and smiled. "So, Mr. Uzumaki, Mr. Wayne. Ready to sweep me off my feet?" "Wish I could, but I have a meeting with my editor. I'll see you later though," Naruto said, kissing her cheek before he walked off with a wave. "Be seeing you, Bruce." Clark. Later. After a wonderful tour around Metropolis, Lois and Bruce were on a balcony overlooking the city. "This city is gorgeous at night," Lois said wistfully. "It's brighter than what I'm used to," Bruce said, looking at Metropolis with a smile before he jumped in surprise. "My, you do live dangerously," Joker said as Lois and Bruce turned to face him. "Don't you realize you're moving in on Superman's main squeeze?" Bruce and Lois backed away as men with guns surrounded them, and when Bruce wasn't looking, Joker sprang forward and gripped Lois' arm, the electric buzzer on his hand electrocuting Lois, causing her to scream before she collapsed into unconsciousness. Bruce looked shocked before with a glare he dove for Lois and Joker. "Take your hands off her, you." Bruce couldn't get close as the goons began to shot at his feet till he fell over the balcony. "See that he's street pizza. In this town, some flying fool could have caught him." The goons ran to the balcony and looked down to see Bruce on the window washer stand, and immediately reopened fire, causing Bruce to pull the level so that the stand began to descend, but the wooden floor took many bullets and he fell through. But luckily Bruce managed to grab the edge of the building before he hit the ground. "Well, aren't we tenacious?" Joker asked before he opened fire in his blimp. With Lois getting away, he waved at Bruce. "Catch you next time, Brookie." Later. Naruto stood on a rooftop looking down at Bruce, who was being questioned by emergency services and Superman. "Swell. Now Gotham's sending us their wackos." The inspector sighed before he looked at Bruce. "Don't worry, Mr. Wayne. The SCU will get her back safe and sound." "Thank you, Inspector," Bruce said. Naruto ignored the rest and flew high up into the sky so that he was looking at all of Metropolis, and began to feel for Lois' life signature. LexCorp Laboratory. Lois was tied to a chair with a gag around her mouth to keep her from speaking, as Joker showed off the dragon sculpted out of pure kryptonite. "Think of it, Miss Lane. This rock is more precious than gold. One teensy chip will go for thousands on the collector's market after it kills your flyboy." Lois began to speak, but it came out muffled, before Harley snatched the gag off her, and the two glared at each other for a moment before Lois looked to Joker. "You sick, demented, murdering freak," Lois yelled. "How rude," Harley said as Joker with his screwdriver broke the kryptonite in half. "Half for now and half for later. You've got a front row seat for the story of the century, my dear, the death of Superman." Joker grinned before he blinked as Lois began to laugh. "You are really stupid. By kidnapping me you now made yourself a target." Meanwhile, Naruto's eyes snapped open as he sensed Lois and immediately took off. LexCorp Laboratory. That was the plan. "Your flyboy will be here to save you, and I'll kill him." Joker smiled. "I wasn't talking about Superman, freak." Lois smirked before a rumble shook the building, and Lois' smirk got bigger. "I was talking about him." With Naruto. Naruto walked into the lab, and narrowed his eyes as he saw the Joker's goons. It's him," one of them whispered before they dropped their guns and ran, while Naruto grunted and headed for Lois. Coming up to a locked door, Naruto's eyes flashed before the wall exploded and he entered through the large hole, to see Joker in the darkness before he stepped into the light with a large smile. "More powerful than a locomotive. And just about as hey you're not Superman," Joker said. "I know. You kidnapped a friend of mine, and I want her back," Naruto said. "She's busy being my hostage," Joker said before he pulled out a semi-automatic weapon, and immediately opened fire at Naruto, who grunted before he caught the bullets and shot forward. Joker's eyes widened before he was punched in the jaw, the force sending him into a wall, and he fell to the ground. Leaning up, Joker spit out two of his teeth and glared at Naruto. Quickly he sprung up and placed his electric buzzer on Naruto's chest, but the electricity did nothing, before Naruto grabbed Joker's wrist. "This is how you subdued her, right?" Naruto asked before Joker suddenly screamed when electricity ran through his body. Before his screaming turned to laughter, only Naruto was no longer interested in him and kicked Joker into some pipes. "Puddin'." Naruto looked to see Harley with a large mallet charging at him before she hit him in the face with it, only for Naruto to not even budge. Harley's eyes widened as she backed away as Naruto looked at her. "You need help, Harley," he said before a telekinetic force sent her flying back into some boxes just as Batman and Superman in his lead-lined suit arrived. "You're both late," Naruto said, walking over to Lois and removing her bindings. "We don't have the luxury of sensing the life force of every being on this planet," Batman said, walking over to the Joker and handcuffing him. "Are you okay?" Naruto asked Lois. "Of course." Lois smiled before she quickly ran over to a box on a table and walked over to hand it to Superman. "This is the kryptonite Joker was going to use to kill you." "Thank you, Lois," Superman said, taking the box, smiling. Later, Naruto, Superman, and Batman watched as Lois was questioned before Naruto looked to Superman. "You need to either tell her the truth or put distance between you and her. Her relationship with you will get her killed," Naruto said. "I've tried to already, but you know how she is." Superman frowned. "She is a handful, but she means a lot to me. You should remember you may have more powers than you need, but you have more weaknesses than that cancerous rock," Naruto said, walking off to Lois. After taking Lois home, Naruto spent some time with her before he stopped by Bruce's hotel with a gift before he left. Bruce's hotel. Bruce watched as Naruto unlocked the large metal suitcase with his fingerprint, before it popped open with a hiss, revealing a pitch black with a large red bat symbol across the chest. "Okay, so this baby has the basic functionality as your other batsuits. It's lighter, sleeker, and acts more as a bodysuit rather than armor. And it will slightly enhance your physical strength and speed. I added in a stronger skeleton to provide extra durability. It is capable of limited flight capabilities with the thruster in the boots, as well as having a sleek retractable fire and bulletproof cape to allow assistance in guided flight, as well as weapons such as retractable claws, projectile batarangs, and grappling guns. The most notable feature that this batsuit contains is its morphing technology, allowing you to transform the tip of a finger into anything ranging from a USB drive to a laser. The morphing capabilities extended to an advanced cloaking system, allowing you to transform the suit into several different articles of clothing. To allow for these abilities, the batsuit contains a magnetic field, which are symbiotic and will bond to your nervous system once you put it on, and several anti-magnetic charges to repulse bullets. It also contains a cloaking mechanism, allowing the user to turn invisible. I upgraded the look to completely cover your face to protect your identity, and only you and Alfred can remove it. Cover his entire body, hiding his appearance. The suit is also more sophisticated with limited medical treatment while in the field. For instance, the suit could detect broken bones and stiffen the area to form a cast until you can get medical help. Bruce looked at Naruto and the suit wide-eyed before Naruto tossed him a book. "There's the manual. All I need you to do is draw some blood and place your palm on your logo so that the suit will be keyed into you so that only you can use it." "Anything else?" Bruce asked in awe of the suit. "Read the manual and find out." Naruto smirked as Bruce walked up to the suit and picked up a letter opener before he cut his finger and placed his hand on the red bat symbol, and he grunted when he suddenly felt a bit winded as white energy coursed across the suit and the eyes of it lit up. What was that?" Bruce panted, wiping sweat that suddenly appeared on his forehead. "Remember how I told you that natives of this plane can't use ki? and those who are capable can only use it in certain ways. Naruto asked, getting a nod from Bruce. That was your key, bonding with the suit. You are the battery, so to speak. So I should only use it for extreme situations? Bruce asked, causing Naruto to shrug. You can use it whenever you need to. The suit doesn't pose any danger to you whatsoever. Naruto said. Thank you, Naruto. Bruce smiled, causing Naruto to smile and pat his shoulder. No need to thank me, man. You're my friend and I'll help you out any way I can. Naruto said before he turned and waved as he left. Be seeing you, Dark Knight. Naruto walked to the balcony and flew off as Bruce smiled before he looked back to the suit and the manual in his hand. 20 minutes later. Naruto's estate. Naruto flew up to his house and landed silently before heading for the kitchen. As he passed the living room, he stopped as he spotted a girl in a cloak meditating as she hovered off the ground. Naruto sounded off. Friend Naruto. Kori said, smiling widely as she flew into the room over to Naruto and hugged him. Your trip to Metropolis was the good? Yeah, it was good to see my old friend. Naruto said. Yes, come and meet my new friend. She came looking for you, and we have done some of the female bonding. Starfire said, taking Naruto's hand and dragging him over to the girl who looked at him. Naruto, meet friend Raven. Hi, Raven said, causing Naruto to raise an eyebrow at the monotone. Hey, Star said you came looking for me. Why is that? Naruto said, getting straight to the point as something about the girl's energy was familiar but he couldn't place it. I need your help, Raven said, causing Naruto to raise an eyebrow. I guess I should start from the beginning. My mom. She was young, rebellious and gullible. Of course she wound up in a cult. Excuse me, but what is the cult? Kori asked, having not yet come across that term in her studies of Earth culture. Basically, it's a group of people whose religious views are different from the majority of people around them. Naruto said, getting a nod from Kori. Anyway, they decided to do the classic bride of Satan rite. And my mom got to be the lucky bride? I doubt anyone expected it to work, but the ancient ceremony turned out to be the real thing. So, Mom, with her great powers of judgment, didn't hesitate to hook up with the guy who emerged from the smoke. His name is Trigon, and when my mom learned the truth of his plans, she fled the cult and was on the run with nowhere to go, when she got saved by these people from another dimension. The people of Azareth. Azareth? Naruto asked, surprised. Those stuck-up magicians have connections to this realm? You know of this Azareth? Kori asked, looking to Naruto. I ran into them in my original dimension as a god of destruction. I had the ability to go to other realms with my attendant Whis. Whis and I had gotten into an argument and accidentally landed there. Let's just say the people and I didn't really get along, and as a result, their connection to my plane was severed indefinitely. After your visit millennia ago, they kept watching you, witnessing your every moment. I knew it. Naruto frowned as he caught the small blush on the girl's cheek, telling him that they also saw his intimate moments. As the daughter of Trigon, I did not fit in. And I must have inherited my mom's terrible judgment, because I thought if I found out more about the monster who made me, I'd be able to make sense of myself. Raven said with a frown. As soon as Trigon arrived, he wiped out everyone and everything. He took me to his hellish universe. I could hardly bear the horrors I saw there. Why does Trigon want you? Starfire asked. He wants Earth. He's a conqueror of worlds. But he needs a powerful conduit to open Earth to his control. And you're half human. His way in. Naruto nodded. But my magic was stronger than he realized. Before he could use me, I was able to trap him inside a crystal. It's only a temporary fix. When he gets out, he will come for me. I remembered hearing that you were on this plane, so I came to ask for your help. Sure, I'll help. Naruto shrugged, causing Raven to blink. Really? Raven asked, surprised as Naruto shrugged. Yeah, I wish I can say I was sorry for the death of your people, but I couldn't care less if they would mistreat a child for something out of its control. They deserved to die. Naruto said as he looked at Raven. You're free to stay here for how long you choose to, and perhaps I can teach you some magic to help you. You know how to use magic? I know how to use it, but I can't use it if that's what you mean. Naruto said, shrugging. So would you like to stay with Kori and I? Yes. Raven nodded, causing Starfire to clap with a cheer. Glorious, I shall make the tacos like friend Kara taught me. Starfire said before she flew to the kitchen. Is she always so bubbly? Raven asked. Yeah, you'll get used to it. I don't think that's a good thing. My powers are all about the suppression of my emotions, so I meditate, because it's dangerous if I feel. Who told you that? Naruto asked with a raised eyebrow. The monks of Azareth, Raven said. The people who didn't like you, right? Naruto asked, causing Raven to blink. Look, your emotions should not be suppressed, they should be accepted because they are a part of you. If you're fighting yourself every step of the way, how can you ever defeat your father? Raven frowned and thought. Naruto. Quarry yelled, causing Naruto and Raven to look toward the doorway before they got up and walked to the kitchen to see Quarry looking at the small flat screen mounted on the wall, where Naruto and Raven saw a blue-skinned man. My name is Salza, and I belong to the Galactic Frieza Army. Some time ago, a filthy Saiyan monkey killed Lord Frieza. If you want to live, reveal the monkey immediately. Salza said, smirking at the camera. Raven and Quarry looked to Naruto only to find him gone. With Naruto. Naruto smirked as he rocketed up to battle. Joker wasn't nearly entertaining. Maybe these fools would be. As he breached the clouds, he saw an army floating outside of the ship, and once he was noticed, they immediately fired ki blast from their arm cannons. Smirking, Naruto made a sharp turn as the ki blast collided with each other as Naruto kicked the first alien in the chin. Flipping, Naruto blasted toward the second alien and easily slapped him aside, while 4 of the aliens chased after him, and as the third alien aimed his arm cannon at him, Naruto ducked and drove his elbow the alien into its torso before he slammed his heel into the man's helmet, causing the man to spin away before he Spartan kicked the 5th alien in the gut, and an uppercut followed by a knee to the chin sent the alien up into the ship. Flying forward, Naruto kicked the 7th alien aside, before the 4 aliens finally caught up, and when the 8th alien tried to attack him from behind, Naruto elbowed him in the gut and grabbed him by his leg before he spun around, using the 8th alien to knock away the other 3. Before he tossed him after his group, and a green ki blast from Naruto erased them from existence. Flying through the cloud of smoke, Naruto flipped over the 12th alien who tried to tackle him, and when Naruto came out of the flip, he turned with a ki blast that killed the 12th alien. Naruto was suddenly grabbed by the arm by the 13th alien and responded by grabbing him by the face before he fired a point-blank ki blast to the mon's face. A green alien came with a hook, but an elbow from Naruto to his chin stunned him before he grabbed it by his neck, and as Naruto's eyes flashed, the alien was outlined with a purple glow before it disintegrated. Naruto looked at the other aliens and with a scoff said, "You fools are seriously boring me." A whitish-blue energy ball appeared in his palm before Naruto threw it, and immediately the energy ball grew to completely overtake the army, killing all of them. "Hey Salsa, you wanted the Saiyan that killed the overgrown lizard, here he is," Naruto said, turning to his right where he saw 2 figures hovering over the ship. "Impressive Saiyan, you killed all of our men with that attack." "Frost demons," Naruto said, looking between the 2. "You killed my son, did you honestly think there would be no consequences?" King Cold asked. "Anyone who disgraces our family pays the price," Cooler said. "Bring it." Naruto smirked, focusing on Cooler, who he could sense was stronger, and ignored Cold when he appeared behind him and punched him in the back of the head, only for Naruto to glow and explode, taking Cold with him. Cooler looked wide-eyed at the death of his father, before he looked over to his left to see Naruto smirking. "You seem to be a cut above the rest, so let's see what you have to offer in the way of a good fight," Naruto said before he looked over to the ship and aimed his hand at it before a spiraling black hole appeared in his palm that he tossed the ship. Cooler watched as his ship was sucked into the black hole and looked back at Naruto. "Wouldn't want you running away. What makes you think I would run from a filthy space monkey?" Cooler glared. "The fact that this monkey has been exterminating your little family of lizards and your empire. I'd say the thought is in the back of your head, but let's begin, shall we?" Naruto smirked. Cooler narrowed his eyes at Naruto before with a snap he appeared in front of Naruto with his tail already in motion to hit the Saiyan. Finished. Batman new suit is basically the Batman Beyond suit with features from his other more powerful suits. Cooler shot a fist at Naruto's face, but the former destroyer moved his head out of the way and sent a fist of his own at the Frost Demon's exposed stomach, causing spittle to fly as Cooler was sent flying back, but he quickly sent a small beam of energy at his opponent. Naruto swatted the blast away with minimal effort and smirked as he met Cooler halfway after he charged at him. Cooler met the charge with a punch aimed at the Saiyan's face, but the blow only passed through an after image. "I must say I'm impressed," Cooler said, looking back at Naruto. "Not many can keep up with me at all. I'm not even close to being serious. I sense a lot of power in you, way more than your brother." Show me, Naruto said. In an instant Naruto was in front of Cooler and launched a punch to his stomach with earth-shattering force, sending spit and blood shooting from Cooler's mouth. Naruto then kicked Cooler in the head, sending him flying down to the ocean, causing the people at the beach to scream as they ran back, watching as Naruto descended as Cooler rose from the ocean and wiped the trickle of blood running down his chin. No one short of my father has been able to ever make me bleed. I'm impressed, Cooler said. Pretty sure I just killed him. Naruto replied. And for that I thank you. Cooler smirked as Naruto raised an eyebrow. My father always spoiled that weakling Frieza. With the both of them out of the way, it is my time to rise to be the conqueror I always knew I could be. And as thanks, I will wipe you and this backwater planet off the face of the universe. But allow me to show you true terror before you die. Cooler clenched his fists at his side and sent his energy radiating outward. The tyrant became more muscular and taller, his head taking on a different shape also. The Space Lord grinned and chuckled at Naruto's surprised expression as a mouth cover shielded the bottom half of his face. Yes, time to die. He looks just like Blizzard, Naruto thought, gazing at Cooler's new form, taking note of the fact that Cooler's power was around his own full strength in his base form. Before the Saiyan could ponder these new events, Cooler charged at him and punched him in the jaw, sending the Saiyan staggering back. Naruto's feet slid back several feet across the ocean before the Saiyan came to a stop. He reached a hand up and wiped the trickle of blood from his mouth. Thank you, Naruto said. What? Cooler asked, perplexed. You have no idea the torture I've put my body through to attain the power I once held. When your brother came, it was the first real fight I had in this body with my unstable power. I was flailing around like some amateur. You, on the other hand, are still holding back. I can sense the depths of your power when you hit me. It's around that of my old transformation. Fighting you should get my body back to a place where I can use all of my power once again. So bring it. Naruto shot forward and sent a punch at Cooler's face, only for the Space Lord to catch the punch in a giant fist and held his ground. Naruto swung with his other fist, only for it to be caught too. The Saiyan and the Frost Demon pushed against each other, both testing out their strength against each other. Neither warrior gave any ground in the power struggle. Cooler shot a knee up at Naruto's gut, but the Saiyan raised a knee of his own, blocking the tyrant's attack with one of his own, causing a shockwave that pushed the water away. The stalemate continued as neither warrior had the advantage. Finally, the two warriors separated and shot back at each other, trading blows at lightning-fast speed. Cooler sent a fist at Naruto's head, but the Saiyan phased out of sight before the attack could land. He appeared behind Cooler with a kick aimed at the Frost Demon's head, only to have it pass through Cooler's after image. Cooler appeared below Naruto, pointing a finger at the red bang having black-haired Saiyan. Death Beam, he shouted as he sent a beam of pink energy at Naruto. Naruto phased out of sight just in time as the death beam passed through his after image. The Saiyan appeared behind Cooler and sent a backhand at the tyrant's head. Cooler raised a hand and blocked the attack, turning with a fist aimed down at Naruto. The Saiyan warrior jumped over the attack and sent a foot flying through Cooler's defenses into the tyrant's stomach. Cooler backed up a step but sent a massive fist into Naruto's face, paying the Saiyan back for the kick to the stomach. The two warriors separated. The longer this goes on, the more my body matures. Even now I can feel my ki returning to its natural state. Naruto thought, clenching his fist, but at the rate he is going now, I'll get bored of him, and when I match him, just kill him off. I want to see all the power he has at his disposal. With that thought, the Saiyan shot forward and drove a punch into Cooler's jaw. Cooler bent with the blow and shot a foot out, tripping the Saiyan warrior, who flipped back, quickly regaining his footing and blocked the three follow-up punches from Cooler. The Space Lord swung his tail around, trying to take off Naruto's head, but the appendage passed through an after image. Looking for me, Naruto said, tapping Cooler on the shoulder. The tyrant turned with a fist aimed at the Saiyan, but Naruto's was faster, striking Cooler's stomach. Blood and spit flew from Cooler's mouth as Naruto brought his other fist up, driving it into Cooler's jaw, sending the Frost Demon flying across the ocean. Cooler flipped back to his feet and pointed a finger at the now charging Naruto, firing a flurry of death beams at the approaching Saiyan. Naruto phased in and out of sight, dodging the beams before finally appearing directly in front of Cooler and grabbed his wrist. "You're boring me," he said as he drove his knee up into Cooler's stomach. Cooler doubled over from the blow, before a bitch slap sent him sliding on his back across the ocean once more. With a growl, Cooler stood up, rubbing his cheek. "You'll pay for this mockery." "I'm shivering," Naruto said, smirking. Cooler suddenly yelled as a massive golden aura flared around him as he began to change. Naruto looked on in anticipation as he saw Cooler transformed further, getting stronger and stronger, and as the glow stopped, Cooler didn't really change as his white parts just turned gold. Cooler's final form mixed with Golden Frieza transformation. Naruto charged at Cooler in his new form and threw a kick at the tyrant's head. Cooler raised an arm and blocked the blow with ease. He shot a fist out quickly and drove it into Naruto's stomach, causing the Saiyan to double over. Cooler's tail suddenly moved and slapped Naruto in the face, sending him flying back, but easily Naruto regained his composure and charged back and swung a fist at the frost demon, but Cooler caught it with ease. "Stupid space ape," Cooler said, smirking. "I'm only using 25% of my power and you're maxed out." Cooler shot a foot up into Naruto's jaw, sending him flying back. Naruto flipped in the air and cupped his hands at his side and shot them forward. "Gaelic gun," he shouted, sending his technique at the tyrant. Cooler backhanded the attack away where it exploded, causing a huge mushroom cloud. "Now do you see the futility of your existence?" Cooler said as he blinked out of existence and reappeared and immediately backhanded Naruto to the beach of an island. Naruto pulled himself off the ground, wincing from the power of Cooler's last hit. "Now we're talking," Naruto said before he charged at Cooler once again. Minutes later, Cooler walked slowly toward Naruto. The Saiyan was lying on the ground, now covered in bruises and blood. He had to give the Saiyan credit, he had fought pretty well. At least he had at first. Now he just laid there. Cooler closed the distance, grabbed Naruto by the neck and held him up in front of him with his tail. "Stupid monkey," he said, laughing as he drove his fist into the Saiyan's stomach. Blood shot from Naruto's mouth as the Saiyan coughed from the blow. Cooler never let up at all and continued punching the defenseless Saiyan in the stomach. "Now you're going to die," the Overlord said as he gathered a small ball of energy on his fingertip and shot it through Naruto's abdomen. The Saiyan gritted his teeth as the energy tore through his flesh. "Looks like I miss everything vital," Cooler said, laughing to himself. He shot another beam of energy through his opponent's chest, this time puncturing a lung. Naruto wheezed, having difficulty breathing. "Now this next one will be through your heart," Cooler said, preparing a third death beam. He. "Oh, is something funny?" Cooler asked as Naruto opened his eyes. "I can't die," Naruto said before a purple aura surrounded him, and with a grunt Naruto flexed his power, sending Cooler flying back. Cooler stopped his retreat and watched as Naruto was healed right before his eyes. "What is this?" Cooler asked. "Still not my max, but it'll do," Naruto said before he got into a horse stance and started to power up. "Grrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrr ground started cratering from the power output, forcing Cooler to raise his hands to shield his face from the harsh gusts of wind. "Ah," continued Naruto as his hair started to get longer, while the winds got stronger and the thunder boomed louder with debris flying everywhere. Snapping his head to the sky and screaming louder, a huge flash of light appeared. "What is this?" Cooler asked, looking to Naruto, and his eyes widened when he saw Naruto's changed appearance. He had 4 red bangs framing his head, as his black hair had turned golden blonde and lengthened to the back of his waist, while his eyebrows had disappeared. "Thank you, the pounding you gave me allowed for my body to speed up its maturity to what it once was." Naruto smirked as he returned to normal. "Let's see what I have." Cooler glared at Naruto before his eyes widened when he lost sight of him, and he suddenly felt an emptiness. Naruto stood behind Cooler with his arm through the tyrant's torso. Blinking, Naruto realized now he needed to train in holding back more, ripping his arm free of Cooler's gut, ignoring the frost demon as he stumbled forward and fell to his knees in shock as he cradled his torso. Looking at his fist while clenching and unclenching it, Naruto sighed. "Sorry about that. I really wanted to use you to fully get back in tune with my body, but it seems you aren't durable enough to keep up with me as I am. Just die." Struggling, Cooler looked back to see a keyball swallow him before he screamed in pain as he was reduced to ash. Cracking his neck, Naruto rose up before he truly released the cap of his power, and immediately the earth began to shake as the sky grew dark and lightning cackled while Naruto laughed. his ki tainting the air. As Naruto charged, his body went through changes. His height and muscle mass grew with a shout, before his form returned to muscles compacted as his ki blazed like fire around him. Looking at his body, Naruto smiled and clenched his fist tightly, ignoring the rock and other derbies that his energy ripped from the ground before he confined his power tightly to his body, not letting any of it leak. He was 45% of the way back to his old self. Meanwhile, a telescope was focused on Naruto as a beautiful blonde woman studied him. Seems man's world has gained some interesting champions, she said. Mother? A black-haired woman asked, walking up to the woman. With Naruto. Naruto released a breath as he returned to his base form, and immediately his eyes widened as exhaustion hit him, falling to a knee as he narrowed his eyes while panting, "Damn, back to this." Naruto panted before he slowly flew up into the air. 6 months later. It's been 6 months since Naruto took out Cooler and regained back his SSJ-3 transformation and larger reserves of his power. In those 6 months, Naruto, Starfire, and Raven had all gotten closer, learning about each other and training together, with Naruto giving Raven scrolls he had wrote from memory of Whis, and his observation of Hagoromo's planet in the art of ninjutsu, genjutsu, and taijutsu, as well as teaching her senjutsu. Raven was a quick learner, and now all she needed was to accept her emotions instead of constantly fighting them. With Starfire, she knew how to fight already, and Naruto helped her refine her fighting skills and her ultraviolet energy. Westchester County. A mansion was engulfed in flames, as news camera crews and firefighters were on the scene. "Meh, I've seen worse," a firefighter said. After less than an hour, Engine 51 is confident they have the blaze under control. "Wait, I'm getting word that the fire marshal is trapped inside," Kim Wilkes said. "Excuse me," a young speedster said, speeding in and swiping the microphone. "Borrow this?" Test. "Hello America. You can all relax. There's a new superhero in town and his name is Kid Flash." Kid Flash tossed the microphone to Kim Wilkes and was about to speed to the house to see if he could help, but suddenly the fire was snuffed out, and out of the mansion flew Naruto with the fire marshal in his arms. "Thank you so much, Mr. Naruto," a firefighter said, taking the marshal from Naruto. "Don't mention it." Naruto smiled before he saw Kid Flash. "Shouldn't you be at home doing homework?" "I had everything under control," Kid Flash said. "No, you were busy showboating instead of doing what was important. Containing this fire, and saving Amon's life. If you want fans, go be an athlete, Kid Flash, come get you boy," Naruto said. A few moments later the Flash arrived. "Hey Naruto." Barry greeted, fist bumping Naruto. "Hey, yours?" Naruto asked, thumbing to Kid Flash. "Just agreed to take him under my wing. Please point out the fact that a hero is not a celebrity but a civil servant, who does what he or she thinks is right," Naruto said. "I hear you, pal," Barry said with a sigh before Naruto nodded and flew off. "I can explain," Kid Flash began. "Let's go," Floridas said, speeding off, causing Kid Flash to groan. "Aw man." Afternoon, Naruto's estate. Naruto was sitting by the pool, just relaxing in the sun, as Cory swam, while Raven was meditating on the roof. "Hello Rachel." Raven's eyes widened as she turned to see a pale akin woman with white hair, clad in pitch-black clothes with her feet covered by a thick shadow. "Essence. What are you doing here? There have been several murders recently, where organs have been taken from living bodies." "Not interested." Raven frowned, turning to leave. "These missing organs were removed years before the victims died. There were no incisions," Essence said, causing Raven to freeze. "But that can only mean," Raven said, turning to look at Essence. "The Untitled." "Yes." Essence nodded. Naruto was bored and about to go train when Cory walked up. "Naruto, I'm bored," she said, drying the water from her body. "Tell me about it." Naruto sighed. "Want to have?" Cory asked suddenly. "Sure." Naruto smirked before he pulled Cory down to him and slammed his lips into her own, as she ripped his pants off while untying the string of her thong and tossed it away. "Rooftop. Even if what you're saying is true, none of this has anything to do with me. Either of us. Azareth is gone, and the Untitled has won the war. You are the last daughter of Azareth. It is your duty to fight Azareth's enemies. Like your mother before you. The Destroyer can help you," Essence said as Raven frowned. Later, Raven with her backpack walked into Naruto's room, to find the headboard smoking and a burned handprint on his chest as he and Starfire were cuddled up on his bed asleep. Placing the letter down, she was about to retreat into a portal and leave. Going somewhere? Naruto asked, sitting up. There's something I have to do. This have anything to do with you talking to yourself earlier? Naruto asked. A member of the All-Caste, a faction of warriors from Azereth, got in touch with me. The All-Caste has been murdered, and one of the only members to show me kindness as well. I have to find who did it. And make them pay. Naruto said, causing Raven to frown. I'm in. Raven looked at Naruto in shock, but I didn't ask. You're my friend Raven, it's my duty to help my friends when they need it. Naruto said, smirking. Does this mean, we are taking the trip of roads? Kori asked, sitting up. Yes, Naruto said. Joy, Kori said before she flew off to get her things. Are you sure about this? Heroes don't do too well with murder. Raven said, making her intentions for her targets clear. How many times do I have to tell you? I'm a warrior first. I literally have no aversion to the act of killing one's enemies. Naruto said, standing up and walking to his closet to grab some clothes. So where are we going? Finished. Hippolyta, Artemis, Diana. A man was sitting in his basement on a high-tech computer as it beeped and a picture of Starfire, with Kara at the beach appeared, a Tamarinian, on Earth. Finally. Plane. Naruto had sent Raven and Starfire up ahead to Hong Kong as he had a board meeting. Currently he was on a plane, having been too tired to fly and wanted to relax his mind a bit, so here he was in first class. Pictures with people had been taken. When he was boarding, business or pleasure? Naruto asked, opening his eyes to the voluptuous stewardess, picture Android 18, who smiled at him. Hello. Is it business or pleasure that takes you to China? The woman asked, leaning on the empty chair beside Naruto and dragging a finger along his shoulder. Favor for a friend. Naruto smiled. Oh, well, you seem kinda stressed, so allow me to get you something to help you relax. The woman said. I'll come with you, it'll be good to stretch my legs. Naruto smiled, following after the woman. Bourbon, extra ice. The woman asked. Good memory. Naruto smiled. Not usually. Just for the painfully handsome, charming passengers. The woman said, handing Naruto his glass. Thank you. Isabelle. She smiled, shaking Naruto's hand. Isabelle, nice name. Naruto smiled, finishing his drink and placing the glass down beside Isabelle, who smiled. Finished your drink quickly. High tolerance, bourbon is like water to me. Naruto said. Well, what else would you like? Isabelle asked, and Naruto's smile widened. Cargo hold. A nude Isabelle head shot up as she moaned, while she arched her back while Naruto slammed into her from behind, groping her ass, before she leaned back into him and the two shared a kiss, as Naruto caressed her. You're amazing. Isabelle moaned, panting as she slammed her hips back into Naruto before grinding her hips against him. I could say the same about you. Naruto replied, as he licked up along her neck. Isabelle moaned, holding the back of Naruto's head, as he continued to slam into her, as he began to suck on her neck. As Isabelle started to grind against him while holding his ass cheek tightly, Naruto smirked and lightly bit her, causing her to throw her head back and release a loud moan, as her orgasm ripped through her body, causing her to shake, as Naruto came with a grunt, before they kissed each other, as Naruto slapped her ass loudly, causing her to moan. It's a shame you have to get back to work. Naruto said. I know. Isabelle said before she reached over and grabbed his phone from his pants. That's why I'm going to give you my number. Naruto grabbed her hand and his phone, causing her to look at him confused. You sure about that? My life is not by any means simple. I know that, but I don't want this to be a one-time thing, and I want to know more about you. Isabelle said, and after a moment Naruto nodded and released her hands, allowing her to put her number in his phone. 3 hours later, Hong Kong. Naruto walked out of the airport, with his phone in hand as he looked for Raven's phone number before he noticed a man holding a card with his name on it standing before a limo. Blinking, Naruto watched as the man opened the door to show Starfire wearing a white leather jacket, over a form-fitting black dress, with shades and diamond earrings. Hello Naruto. I have secured us a local mode of transportation. Naruto smiled and climbed into the limousine to see Raven sitting across from Starfire wearing a hoodie, black skinny jeans and Chuck Taylors. Your English is getting better, Kori. Naruto said. Thank you, Raven helped me. Starfire said, causing Naruto to look at Raven, who blushed and put her book to her face. Wish I could have been there to see it. Naruto said, smirking as Raven trembled in her seat. So Ray, where are we heading? To the Himalayas. Raven replied, getting a nod from Naruto. Anything we should know about? Naruto asked. The leader of the All-Chaste was one of the only people to ever support me. Whenever I could I would come here before Trigon destroyed Azereth. They have a working relationship with the League of Assassins. I thought the people of Azereth were pacifist? Naruto asked. They are, but those who weren't joined the All-Chaste to fight against the Untitled. Raven said, getting nods from the two aliens before they got out of the limo and walked up to their hotel room, to change into their appropriate attire. Naruto decided to forego his armor this time, and wear a black tank top, black sweatpants, and black-red sneakers. Starfire wore her normal clothes along with Raven before the three flew to the Himalayas, following Raven, who flew toward a mountain. Follow me, Raven said, flying through the mountain. Following the empath, Naruto and Starfire landed in a monastery filled with corpses, while Raven walked to one in particular. I'm sorry I wasn't here for you, Dukra. Raven said to the corpse of an old woman before white energy appeared and the old lady's soul appeared over her corpse. No time for tears, Rachel, nor regrets. An Untitled was here, more powerful than ever. Dukra said. Here? That's madness. Raven replied. It awayed with Azar. It broke into the chamber of all. Dukra said. I'll find it, Dukra, and I'll avenge you all. Raven swore. Do what you must. Keep your heart of vengeance, Rachel. I will see you in a better place. Dukra said before she vanished. But not too soon, grandmother. Raven replied, looking around as some corpses began to reanimate and surrounded the trio. Raven, you alright? Naruto asked. Yes, we must defeat them in combat to allow them to rest in peace. Raven said before she got into the stance Naruto taught her. Immediately Starfire launched a starbolt. As the corpses began to charge, Naruto ducked under a swing and grabbed them corpse forearm and slammed a ki blast into its face. As Raven used her magic to materialize two swords and blocked a slash of a knife and decapitated a corpse, and with a swing of the blade an arc of black energy cut through 7 more. Naruto was suddenly hit in the face, and looked to the culprit, and a ki blast was shot through the corpse head, before Naruto raised 2 fingers into the air, causing a giant explosion that took out the rest of the reanimated corpses. The trio stood on a small elevated piece of ground that wasn't reduced to rubble as Raven stepped forward and bowed in respect. We should go, Raven said, leading her friends away. Naruto and Kori nodded before flying after Raven. Entrance to Chamber of All. A bald-head boy smoked from some of the 4 hookahs he was using before he noticed Naruto and the girls. This is Saru the Protector. He's over 4 millennia old. Thereabout, Saru said. Did we come at a bad time? Raven asked, frowning. You realize that we wouldn't have gotten this far if the all-cast hadn't been slain by the same Untitled that walked past me a half hour before you got here? Duh, Saru interrupted, looking at the 3. Now what? You want to tripes off after the Untitled and exact some cosmic vengeance? This isn't about revenge. As the last daughter of Azereth, it falls to me to find out what the Untitled wanted so badly that it was willing to break a truce almost as old as time. Fine, I'll let you in, but I'm responsible for holding onto your most cherished memories as collateral. You can have them back if you return. Saru sighed before blue energy left Naruto's, Raven's and Kori's chest. Fine, Raven said. Actually, Kori began, but Naruto grabbed her hand. It'll be alright, Naruto said, getting a slow nod from Kori. Behind that door, everything awaits, Saru said, pointing at a door. The trio walked to the door and Naruto opened it. Before they entered, and Naruto and Starfire looked around as the weird room. Take a breath. The Chamber of All can be overwhelming. Agreed, Kori said as she and Naruto looked at the weird exit doors by the labyrinth of stairs. It's a nexus. From here you can go anywhere. Anywhen. And where are we going? Kori asked. No idea, Raven said. Well, that's reassuring. Naruto sighed. Dukra used to say, follow the path, and it will lead you. Raven said before she began to walk down the steps, and the 2 aliens followed the half-demon. With Saru. Saru was looking at the orbs he took from Naruto and the girls. I really shouldn't, it is against protocols. But these 3, so curious. I guess I can get away with it, they aren't even human. The orange one first. Just a peek. Saru waved a hand through an orb, and blue mist appeared before a window opened up. Flashback, prison planet. Fascinating. This one prices memories in a most unusual, almost impossible to unlock. Coriander. Princess traded into slavery. One girl's freedom for the peace of two worlds. But still cruelty's never ending. A young skinny miserable Coriander dressed in white rags was in shackles as she walked in the mud, when she was hit with a whip sending her face first to the mud. A member of the citadel looked at the young princess. Rise, he ordered. Coriander on her knees looked up at the blue muscular alien who knelt down and moved some of her hair from her face along with some mud. I was a pod your age once. You should be running free, young princess. I am sorry on behalf of all my people. Thank you for your kindness, soldier. Might I petition a boon from you? Coriander asked. If it is within my power, of course. The soldier said. Suddenly Coriander sprang forward slamming a starbolt into his chest. Drop dead, you sanctimonious puss. The soldier yelled in pain as an explosion covered his form. I may be trapped here but I will not suffer compassion beneath the boot of a spineless worm. Coriander spat as the soldier's corpse collapsed, smoke rising from the charred corpse. What part of princess didn't you understand? Other soldiers on the yard ran up trampling prisoners in their way, before they aimed their weapons at the young princess. Not another move. I hope you enjoyed your impotent gesture. Make the mistake of stepping too close to me, and you'll know firsthand what I feel. Coriander said. End flashback. Saru closed the window. That was disturbing. That was her most cherished memory? Just how screwed up is this trio? He asked. With Naruto. The aliens and half-demon made it to a large entryway. Raven, how did you know this was here, and you've never been here before? Studying, Raven said, entering the cave before they stopped seeing a blue glow from a pedestal in the distance. Is this what the Untitled who killed your friends left? Naruto asked. Why? Cori asked. They're taunting me, leaving breadcrumbs I meant to follow. Raven frowned. Let us get it and get out of here. Cori said. Raven was about to move forward but Cori stopped her. I was trained in the art of war. This is a setup. Naruto said just as spikes erupted from the ground, but the three had flew up and looked at the green monster glaring at them before its tongue shot forward and wrapped around Cori. What am I missing? Raven asked, dodging a slap from the monster. Untongue me, creature. Cori yelled before she was yanked back into the creature's mouth. Last chance. Naruto shot down and punched the monster in the cheek, forcing its head around. Big mistake, pal. Naruto yelled before he dodged to the right as a spike flew off the creature at him. Grabbing the edge of the spike as it flew by him, Naruto tossed it back at the monster. Back at the entrance, Saru grabbed another orb. I suppose I've already broken one rule. Come on, Naruto Uzumaki, amuse me. Blue mist appeared and a window opened. Flashback, Planet Sadala. 8-year-old Naruto groaned as he sat up, bruised and beaten, before he looks up at his parents who were panting as well, looking up at the Saiyans floating in the sky laughing. Don't you see Minato, Kushina? A Saiyan yelled, wearing an armor along with his comrades. We forced the Tuffles to build this Blutz wave armor. Since we put it on, our bodies have been getting a constant supply of Blutz waves, allowing us the power of our Uzaru forms without the need to transform. A female Saiyan smirked. You could have joined us but you refused. So now you both and your brat will die. Another Saiyan yelled before the army of Saiyans raised their hands into the air and large orbs of ki materialized. Naruto looked to his parents as they got into the stances for their signature moves. I need to help. He muttered, forcing himself up to his knees. Stay down and rest, Naruto. We will take care of this. Kushina said. Ready, dear? Minato asked as yellow electrical energy appeared shooting from his body, digging into the ground. Always. Kushina smirked as the ground cratered under her while a shockwave sent dust away. Final. Minato said as he brought his hands up, aiming at the army of Saiyans. Ka, me, ha, me. Kushina chanted as a blue orb of ki began to grow in her cupped hands. Flash, ha, die. The lead Saiyan yelled before the army threw the orbs of ki that merged and expanded to a planetary-sized orb of ki. The beam attacks struck the orb and entered a stalemate, before slowly the beam began to get pushed back. I can help too. Naruto said, standing between his parents. I can show you the technique I mastered. Naruto mimicked Minato's early stance. Final. Cupping his hands as he was now mimicking Kushina, as the parents watched wide-eyed. Ka. Me. Ha. Me. Ha. A blue energy beam with yellow swirls of electival energy was launched and fused with Minato's, and Kushina's attacks, and the family of three struggled as their beams slowly began to push back the large orbs, something the army noted, causing them to put more power into their attack. "We will not lose," Naruto yelled, and in a flash of energy his hair stood up, turning yellow, causing his parents' eyes to widen. The family's combined energy beam exploded with power and advanced forward, pushing the orb and the Saiyans out of planet Sadala's orbit into an asteroid field before a large explosion shook the planet below. Naruto smiled as his glowing form suddenly blinked out of existence before he passed out into the arms of his mother. End flashback. Saru blinked. The first time he fought alongside his parents is his most cherished memory, huh? But for a child to have so much power, just how strong are these Saiyans? Meanwhile, Naruto was blinking in and out of sight as he flew toward the monster, dodging the spikes it kept launching before he flipped over another spike and ran along it before jumping, before he tossed a ki blast at the eye of the monster, causing it to screech in pain. Raven was looking around and saw the pedestal from earlier and flew to it. The monster saw Raven and with a roar slapped at her, but Naruto appeared with a ki sword and cut off the monster's hand, causing it to screech in pain. Raven grabbed the glowing orb, and her eyes widened when she saw what it was. "We just risked our lives for a snow globe of Colorado. That's the big clue?" Naruto saw the monster's chest suddenly bulge, and with a smirk he flew back and grabbed Raven before taking her away just as the monster's chest exploded. Kori floated in the large hole of the monster with her eyes glowing green as her starbolts were now blue before they went back to their green color. The monster fell back dead as she flew over to Naruto and Raven. Those were unacceptable accommodations for a princess. "Let us away," Starfire said. Naruto's Saiyan instincts were flaring as he looked at Kori covered in the blood of the monster. Damn. Moments later, Saru opened Raven's orb, and the first thing he saw was her with her hands bloody standing over the corpses of a few demons. When he heard the door about to open, he quickly closed the window and looked to see the three walk out. "Oh, you made it," Saru said. "Yes, now return our memories," Kori demanded. "Of course. Did your journey pay off?" Saru asked, only for Naruto to toss the snow globe at him. "Any idea of the significance of this thing?" Naruto asked. "Or why the Untitled left it behind?" Raven asked, frowning. "Sorry, I do not know." "Here," Saru said as he handed the memories back. The trio took their orbs, which vanished and were absorbed back into their bodies. "Where to now?" Kori asked. "Colorado," Naruto said. "Unknown planet." On an unknown planet light years away, surviving Saiyans had formed a new society in secret. In the castle, a Saiyan ran to the throne room where three Saiyans were talking. "Paragus," the Saiyan yelled. "What is it, Nappa?" "Word from our scouts. They say Frieza and his entire family has been killed," Nappa said, causing the Saiyans to look at him in shock. "What? By whom?" a new Saiyan said, walking from the back, causing the others to bow. "That's the thing, Lord Turles, they say it was." "Who?" Turles asked. "Prince Naruto." Nappa. A cold silence filled the room. "He lives on some backwater planet." "Yes. The name has something to do with dirt, sir." Nappa nodded. "You know what this means, right?" Paragus asked, causing Turles to look at him. "You cannot be king until you defeat Prince Naruto in combat." Nappa, "Go to our scouts. Kill anyone who stands in your way and find Naruto's location. I will crush his head under my boot for the humiliation my family suffered under his." Turles said. "Yes, sir," Nappa said, leaving. "Wait, are you sure it is wise to kill Naruto?" He was sent away before the phrase's bio-weapon that rendered us infertile was deployed. "We can use him to bring our people back. Naruto must burn," Turles said with finality. "Paragus, how goes the mind control device for your son Brawly?" Turles asked. "Nearly completed. We have him still mentally sedated. By the time Nappa returns, you will have the legendary Super Saiyan under your complete control." "Good." Turles smirked as he bit into a weird-looking fruit. "I will need more fruit from the Tree of Might before I meet the spawn of Minato." Turles smirked. "Send out a squad to the Frieza Galactic Empire. We will be taking it over. No more hiding. If anyone gets in the way, especially those weaklings from Oa, kill them." That's all for now. If you enjoy, then please like, share and do comments.